Right, so good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 2026 CX Maturity Index results launch. My name is Jeffrey Tobias. I'm the Managing Director of the Strategy Group, and joining me today is Pierre Schaub, our CX Director, and we're so glad that you're here. Thanks so much for taking some time out to share with us. First of all, I'd like to start with acknowledging country. We'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land we work on today. We pay our respect to elders past and present and extend that respect to all First Nations people present today. Today is the day you get to see how customer experience in local government is tracking nationally in 2026, and more importantly, where your own council sits on that journey. This is a results session. So we'll move through the national findings together, and then Pierre will talk to you about how to access your own individual results. We'll keep you posted to it for around 45 minutes and also leave time for questions at the end. So please hold your questions. We'll love to have your questions. We'll do them at the end and also drop them in the chat as we go. So let's get into it. Before we step into the findings, I want to briefly tell you a little bit about who we are, because we know that context matters when you're hearing results like you're going to hear. We at the Strategy Group, we've been working in and around local government since 2003, and to be honest, we love it. Over the more than 2 decades, we've partnered with councils right across Australia on everything from customer experience, employee experience, community engagement, disability services, and we very much enjoy working with you. We very much enjoy working with local government across the country. We understand the environment you're in, constrained budgets, community expectations going up, and the pressure to do more with less. So we get it. And what we wanted to do was build this customer experience maturity index, CX maturity index, precisely because what we're hearing councils say all the time, we know that CX matters. We know that we want to improve our customer experience, but we don't know where to start. And even more importantly, we don't know how we're going. Are we doing well? Are we not doing well? How do we fare in relation to other councils across the country? And that's why we kicked off this CX index to show that what are councils doing across Australia and allow you to compare and benchmark yourself against those other councils. So what is this CX Maturity Index? At its core, a national benchmark, and it's designed to help you and other councils understand where you are in your journey, because customer experience is a journey, that's for sure. Compare yourself with peers, but also more importantly, identify practical ways in which you in the council can improve your customer experience. The index has been built on real insights, a lot of work on our part talking to people, filling in surveys, and you've all done that from councils right across the country, and it gives councils a consistent, repeatable way to measure and track customer experience over time. This is the second time that we have run this, and you'll be able to, in the interactive website that will give you access to, compare results from this time to last year, and we'll be doing this every year. So we'll see trends not only across the country in customer experience, but you'll see your own trends, how you're faring across the years as well. As you can see on the screen, the journey runs from left to right, from isolated initiatives where customer experience activities exist but are disconnected or uncoordinated, all the way through to a customer-centric culture where customer experience is embedded in how the organization thinks and operates. It's a spectrum. It's a bit like AI. In AI, we're doing a lot of work in AI in councils, local government, and there's a spectrum there as well as there is here. Most local government entities sit somewhere in the middle, as you'd expect, and that's normal. Our point is not where do you start and where you today, but also where are you moving to? What are the steps that you can take to deliberately move forward now that you'll be able to get a better understanding of some of the positives and some of the shortcomings. How do we move forward? So let's look at the dimensions of this journey. To measure that journey, there are 10 dimensions. And we spend a lot of time choosing what are the dimensions that we want to measure, and then focus in two categories, as you can see on the screen. The first is drivers, right? So customer experience drivers. These are the dimensions that directly shape the customer experience your community receives. Vision, strategy, endorsement, commitment, governance, delivery, and measures. Think of these as the what and the why of customer experience. The second is enablers. These are the capabilities that support and sustain customer experience delivery over time. The enablers. Culture is an enabler. What are the tools that you're using? What about technology? Which channels are you using? And what are the skills? Think of these as the how. Every council that participated in the index was assessed across each of these 10 dimensions, and the overall score that you'll be able to see when you have access to the interactive website is a composite of all of these results. This gives us a really rich picture of not just how well a council is performing overall, but exactly where the strengths are, and more importantly, where the gaps lie. How are councils scored? So councils are scored from 0 to 5 across each of these 10 dimensions, and that overall score places you within one of the 5 CX maturity levels. Let's just quickly look at the levels. Level 1 is basic for scores between 0 and 1. Level 2, reactive, between 1 and 2. Intermediate is level 3, from 2 to 3. Proactive, so now we're moving up the scale. We're proactive around customer experience, level 4, and that's from place between 3 and 4. And level 5 is leading. In other words, you're at the leading edge of what is other councils are doing in terms of customer experience, and that's for councils scoring between 4 and 5. We'll share with you the national results in a moment, and you'll also have access to your own individual results. Pierre will talk about that shortly. You'll see your council's placement in each of these 5 levels. That will obviously be, only visible to you in your council, but it'll give you a view of where you sit. And the levels are designed to be descriptive and practical and not just labels. And each one will tell you something about where your CX capability genuinely sits right now. In a few minutes, Pierre will walk through what it takes to progress from one level to the next. And I think, I think you'll find that really useful. Before we get started, I just want to acknowledge the councils in the room and the people in the room, because you have made this research possible. You have filled out the surveys, you've chatted, you've talked, and you've been willing to participate, and you will get results not just for you, but you'll be contributing to a benchmark for councils all across Australia. 46 councils from across the country took part in 2026 in the CX Maturity Index, and we're hoping that we'll be able to expand that moving forward into the 2027 Maturity Index that will run later this year. It's a really strong cohort, and the good news is we have representation from New South Wales, Victoria, WA, South Australia, and Queensland. And even more importantly, we've got councils that span metro, regional, and rural context. So we're really pleased with the cohort that we've got. And the diversity, this diversity is one of the things that makes this benchmark genuinely useful. If it was all metro or all small councils, it would be a shame. We've got national coverage and we've got spans across the different sizes. It means that the national picture reflects the full range of operational environments, not just well-resourced city councils. So in a minute, I'm going to hand it over to Pierre, but I genuinely wanted to thank you. Thank you to every one of you for taking the time to participate in this seminal study. We feel it's really important. Continuing it on year after year is what we plan, and that will give us, as we said, the trends nationally, and it'll give you the trends in your council. So thank you. It's your contribution that makes this data meaningful, and it makes it meaningful for the whole sector. And we're very much appreciative of your time and input into this. At this point, I'm going to hand it over to Pierre, and Pierre is going to take us through what we actually found through the index, and then we'll talk to you about how you'll be able to access your own results on our interactive tool. So, Pierre, over to you.
Thanks, Jeffrey. All right, now let's get into the data. So as you'll be able to see on the screen, now the national average of our CX maturity score is 2.69, which is the sector in the intermediate band. It's an increase from 0.14 compared to 2025, which tells us that the sector is genuinely moving forward. If we break it down by maturity band, it's almost 80% of cancel that are in the intermediate and proactive range. Just wait a few seconds. Here we are. Here's the screen. So as you can see on the screen, almost 80% of cancel are in the intermediate and proactive range, which is similar to last year. I would say there is a high proportion of cancel now in the proactive range, but something quite new in 2025. Now we have 6% of cancel who have reached the leading level, which is the highest level of maturity in CX, up from like 0% in 2025. So that tells us a couple of things. It tells us that's been significant improvement, but also that there is room for growth and improvement moving forward. Overall, we've noticed at macro level, there are some key trends that I want to call out before we look more to individual insights from the result. The first is to notice that leadership commitment continues to outpace operation. It was already emerging as a trend in 2025, and it's really confirming now. The strong leadership and operation lag a bit behind the strategic direction and intention. The second macro trend is the fact that drivers are outperforming CX enablers. If you look at the trend number one, it makes sense considering that the drivers are really a reflection of strategy and leadership, and the enablers are more around operationalizing the CX strategy. Third macro trend, which is very interesting, is this year, the driver vision and strategy is actually the weakest of all the driver scores, which we didn't have last year. Last year was actually one of the strongest scores. So we think it could tell something about vision strategy needs to be refreshed, maybe a bit updated. There's going to be a lot of changes in CX. And of course, everybody's talking about AI and how AI is going to reshuffle the cards and potentially setting the bar higher for council. So potentially this score is a reflection of this. And lastly, what we notice is like there is no more cancel sitting in the basic band, which is amazing, which is the lowest level of CX maturity. Last year, we had 3% of cancel that were sitting in the basic band, which is interesting. So now I just want to unpack this result and flesh out 3 key insights that are coming out of this research. Insight number 1, we call this strong leadership, weak foundations. With this insight, we've seen building for a couple of years now, but in 2026, it's really coming to sharp relief. Like we see leadership commitment is there, definitely, but the foundations to deliver on that commitment are not always there. Scores for endorsement and commitment, which reflects how strongly senior leaders support and champion CX, is now the strongest index score at the score of 3.3 on average across all council, which is amazing. But if you look more on the operational side, scores for tools are just under 2%, and that's the weakest score for all the different drivers and enablers. And technology is also sitting at 2.5, which is also one of the weakest scores. So what is causing this? Well, a couple of things. We know that council usually have strong champions at the top who understand why CX matter, but they have not yet made the investment or always made the investment to invest in the right systems, platform, and measurement practices that actually turn that intent into consistent outcomes and customer results. And the implication of that would be that council will need to match this leadership ambition with operational investment. That's insight number 1. Insight number 2, we call it fragmented effort, stalled progress. This second insight is all about the organizational structures that either enable or block great customer experience. Governance and culture, they are two drivers. They both score very well at 3.1 and 3.0 respectively. It shows that council really understand the importance of governing CX properly and building the right culture from the top to bottom of the organization. But delivery, the dimension that measures whether this governance and culture setting actually result in good experiences for customers, lags behind at 2.7. So there's a real disconnect between the good intention and consistent execution. Causes, comes down usually to siloed organizational structure within council, and that's something we've observed with many of our clients in council we are engaged with. And we notice that very often when a customer contacts their council, well, they don't expect, they don't want to see it, they don't even understand the department. They just see one organization, but it's not reflected internally, where you have different teams that own different parts of that journey, with unclear accountability. And when those teams don't coordinate, the customer experience just breaks down. A solution to consider is that cancel, and what we've seen with highest performing cancel, what makes them perform best in this index are the ones who've started thinking about customer journey overall, not just departmental boundaries. That means that having shared metrics, clear end-to-end accountability, and genuine collaboration across the different teams. It sounds easy, but it takes a bit of time to put in practice because it goes against the traditional way of structuring an organization. And last but not least, the third insight around evidence that drives impact. So this third insight is about measurement and is one of the most practical takeaway from the index. Measures now sits at 2.7 out of 5 nationally. Additionally to this, we've noticed that 2/3 of council are still collecting feedback, customer feedback reactively instead of being proactive about this. And less than 30% only run a closed loop feedback program, which is not much compared to private sector standards. That means that most council are not systematically following up with their customers in the right way. The implications of that is double. The first one is around the fact that without consistent measurement, you cannot tell whether your CX investment are actually working or not. You end up making decisions of gut feel rather than evidence supporting this. And the second is more trust related. Customers who provide feedback and never see anything back just become disengaged. And closed loop programs are here, one of the most powerful ways to build community trust in your council. A solution is investing in consistent metrics, building a regular reporting rhythm, and developing analytical skills of your team to turn feedback into actions. You do not need a large budget for that to start. You need a system and a bit of discipline to put this to practice and use the data that you have. All right. Now, I'd like to take a moment to first celebrate the council that are generally setting the standard and the bar for CX in Australia right now. We haven't received permission to disclose their names yet, so we'll keep their name anonymous for now. But here's some key takeaways from the top 5 ranking council in the CXMI in 2026. So if we look on average at the top 5 council scores, they are higher than the one we had last year, which is reflecting that the industry overall is putting some serious effort into improving CX, which is very encouraging. The second takeaway is noticing that the top performing council A, scored an impressive 4.46 out of 5. It's the highest CXMI score we've ever recorded, which is very impressive. A third takeaway is noticing that in 2025, the top 5 ranking was really dominated by New South Wales and Victorian Council. Well, not anymore in 2026. We have 2 South Australian and 1 WA council in the top 5. Even when we look at the result in detail across the entire benchmark, we've noticed that average scores for South Australian and WA Council is actually higher than average score for New South Wales and Victorian Council, which is very interesting. Last key takeaway is around the fact that we see regional council can also be CX leaders too. As Jeffrey mentioned, it's not just all about Metro Council, and they're not the only ones leading the way in AI, which is great to see. But overall, something that all those leaders in CX have in common, they made CX a genuine organizational priority, not just a policy position. They've invested in the right infrastructure, they've built strong governance, they created culture where customer experience is a shared responsibility across the organization, which is so critical. All right. Now you might wonder, okay, that all makes sense, but how do we get there? What does the path look like to improve our own CX maturity? So we created a very practical guide showing what are the 3 most important tactical actions to move the needle and to move to the next CX maturity level, wherever you stand on the band. So if you are the reactive level, to go to the intermediate level, really the priority is really building those foundations. What it means, it's establishing a CX leadership group that brings different departments together, setting up consistent ways to measure CX performance, and making CX a regular agenda item in your internal meetings. They are not expensive or complex moves, but they create the platform for everything else. If you are in the intermediate level, to move to the proactive level, the focus shifts to capability and delivery. You have to train your staff to build their customer service and customer experience skills. Look at the service channel, identify what the friction or the pain points are for the customers, and start introducing different self-serve options, for example, way to improve FAQs, online form, chatbot functionalities. And with AI now, there's a new generation of chatbot that are 10 times better than what we used to have a few years ago, where the chatbots were not very effective. Finally, to go from proactive to leading, in that case, the path is all about sophistication and sustainability. It's about using data and AI to spot patterns and anticipate customer needs before they become a complaint. So it's been very proactive. Use closed loop feedback to keep testing and iterating on solution based on your customers and what they're telling you. And also work to make CX a genuinely shared responsibility across every department. All right. Now, I'd like to show you how we'll be able to access and see your own results, because I think seeing it is more powerful than describing this. So each one of you will have a dedicated CXMI online dashboard, which is a live, dynamic, individual website, not a static document. And we're very proud of what we've created for you. The dashboards have been created and protected by a password. We'll share with you later today, after today. Only you will be able to see your result. This is completely private and safe. All right. I think now I will show you what it actually looks like using a test case. So I'll stop sharing. I'll share my screen and show you with a case example, see what you will be able to see. All right. So you will all be able to, we'll send you the link to your individual dashboard. We'll send you an access code that will allow you to see your result. You should be able to see a screen similar to this. You see sample cancel. This is a dummy example, so none of the results are real. It's just to give you a flavor of what you'll be able to access. So in the first tab, about, it's giving you some information about the CXMI, what it is, what the structure that Jeffrey presented, the maturity framework with the drivers, the enablers. So it's just a bit of context around the CXMI. The most important tab for you would be your result. You'll be able to see your score, where you sit on the maturity level, how you rank amongst other council, and then you'll have the breakdown by all the different dimensions. How do you see, and then you will be able to see some of the group averages and how you compare for all the 10 different dimensions, going from vision strategy down to channels, technologies, and tools. You'll also be able to see where you stand on your maturity progression roadmap with like key action tailored to your situation. See how do you move to the next level of maturity. Peer comparison is going to show you where you sit compared to all the other participants in the survey. And you'll also be able to customize this to see if you want to compare yourself against council in a similar state or similar type of council, other rural council, regional council, or metropolitan council. Insights are detailed takeaway and personal recommendation to your specific case for all the different dimensions, whether it's like what's recommendation insight for your particular council around vision and strategy, around endorsement, commitment, measures, tools, etc. And finally, the last tab called your journey. You should be able to see if you've taken the CXMI survey in 2025, you should be able to compare your score this year against last year and see where you've increased, stagnated, plateaued, or potentially decreased with some elements around how to help you get back on track. So this is it. This is what you should be able to see. And we're very excited by this website. We're very excited for you to have the opportunity to access it and be able to look at your results in detail. Now let's back to our presentation. So how do you access this amazing dashboard and see your result? Well, it's very simple. First thing you need to do is book a free session with us. You can use the QR code on your screen. You can use your phone to scan the QR code that will prompt you to a page, Calendly, to book a session with us. During the session, we walk you through the result. We use the session with us to discuss your next steps. We'll help you identify the most practical, high-impact action to move your council towards the next maturity level and answer all the questions you have around your results, how to move to the next level of maturity. We also, of course, give you your unique code so you'll be able to access this online dashboard whenever you want, anytime you want. So I would like to encourage you to scan. I'll maybe leave for a few seconds on this slide so you can take the time, use your phone, scan the QR code, and before you leave today, you can book a free session with us. All right. We'll share the QR code again at the end. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of this presentation, but Jeffrey and I are both here and very happy to take some of the questions you might have for us. So feel free to put some of the questions in the chat. I'll have a look. Okay, I see. Okay, I see there's already a few questions coming. Great. Perfect. I'll start with the first question. Is participation free and will it remain free in the future? Yes, it is free. And we want to keep this as a free exercise. Any other questions? Yep. Okay, another question. Can Council redo this index mid-year to track progress, or is it annual only? That's a very good question. Right now, it is annual. That's an exercise we're going to do on an annual basis. But if you want us to talk to you to do it half year, we can definitely talk to you about this. We'd be very interested and very keen to do this with you, for sure. Thank you, Kylie.
That's an interesting question about as the councils move through a CX journey during the year, is there a way of tracking progress? Thank you, Paul. We'll take that one on board. Think about that.
Yeah, thank you. There's a nice comment from Kylie. Thank you, Kylie. Any other questions? Give you a few seconds. Are we able to get a copy of the slide presented today? Sure. We'll circulate, we'll PDF the presentation and send it to you. So you also have the QR code so you can scan it in your own time for sure. Yes.
Actually, I'm just thinking, Pierre, while we have such an austere group here, it'd be interesting if people would like to comment on what else you'd like to see. What else would be of value that we could include in the next CXMI? Any thoughts while we have everyone here? Anyone want to put forward what else you'd like to see in terms of results? You haven't seen your individual options yet, but just any thoughts that would be of value.
And why do you think about this? Also, something to keep in mind is this maturity index has been developed exclusively for local council in Australia. So it's very tailored to the sector. What we're aiming to do is like every year we revisit the benchmark because as you can imagine, maturity is a moving target. It's not static and has technology evolve, especially now with Gen AI solution. The expectation and the bar keeps on increasing. So if you are a leader in 2026 ranking, you might not actually be again a leader in 2027 because the bar to become a leader keeps on moving and increasing. But it's very positive to see that council have already, taking the steps to improve their maturity. This is very encouraging. Anything you can think of that will make the maturity index more valuable, insightful?
Looks like we've covered most of it, Pierre.
Yeah. All right. Well, if there's no more question, if you have any more question, feel free to reach out to Jeffrey or myself. We'll be more than happy to have a discussion with you. And of course, feel free to scan the QR code to book a session. Again, this is a free session. And during this session, we'll give you your personal password code so you can access your website, your dashboard. So, well, that brings us to the end of this webinar. Thank you so much for joining us today. I mean, we genuinely appreciate the time you've given, and we hope the findings have been insightful and valuable. We really look forward to connecting with each of you individually and share your council result and support you on your CX journey. As I say, if you haven't done it again, please scan the QR code before you go. And from all of us as Strategy Group, Jeffrey and myself, thank you. and we hope to see you soon.
Thank you.